So how did you know Tupac and Suge was in the black BMW?
He was hanging out the window.
Tupac?
Yeah.
What was he doing?
He had half his body out the window. Yeah. Just, that Bay Area
Dwayne Keefe D. Davis's own words, eyewitnesses and a gang expert led a grand jury to indict Keefe D. for Tupac Shakur's murder after 27 years. We have testimony from witnesses who told the story of what happened that night. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Angenette Levy. We are learning more details about what witnesses told a grand jury in Las Vegas as they met to investigate the murder of Tupac Shakur. That grand jury met 4 times between July and August. A number of people testified about Keefe D's involvement in Tupac Shakur's murder. Others testified about what they saw that night or heard about what happened from those who were involved. Tupac Shakur was shot on September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas. He died 6 days later on September 13th. Tupac and Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight went to the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand with other people. Surveillance cameras recorded them at the casino. Then they encountered Orlando Anderson, a member of the Southside Compton Crips. Tupac, Suge Knight, and others jumped Anderson. Why? A grand jury witness, Devonta Lee, said it was payback for Anderson and other members of the Southside Compton Crips beating up members of the Mob Piru Bloods in California earlier that month and stealing a Death Row Records chain from this man, Trayvon Lane. Lane was a Blood and a friend of Suge Knight. Lee said Suge Knight gave those chains to people and that taking that chain was, quote, like taking the crown. The grand jury watched an interview of Keefe D with The Art of Dialogue, where Keefe D said he knew about that incident involving the chain.
That was a chain. I wouldn't wear that. I wouldn't have put that on my neck.
So how you know the change was cheap?
Because I seen it.
How you seen it?
The homies had it. They came back from the mall.
Surveillance video shows Orlando Anderson at the MGM Grand. Another witness testified that Anderson wanted to fight Tupac Shakur, but a more sinister plot to shoot Tupac Shakur or Suge Knight unfolded. The man who took this photo told the grand jurors he snapped it with a camera in his car as he was picking up food. It's the last photo of Tupac Shakur before the shooting. Moments later, shots were fired from a white Cadillac. In that Cadillac, driver Terrence Brown and backseat passengers DeAndre Big Dre Smith and Orlando Anderson. Keefe D was in the front seat. A witness testified Keefe D was a South Compton Crips original gangster, or OG, a shot caller, who dealt drugs and had a lot of money. Keefe D recalled the shooting.
Orlando is the shooter. He's the known shooter. I mean, everybody know Orlando Anderson was a shooter. So Dre got cold feet. He didn't want to do it. He gave the gun to Orlando, and Orlando shot Tupac and Suge.
Yeah, he did his thing, yeah. Suge just ducked his head, and the first bullet went in his head, then the next one's hit him. It was like he was doing a breakdance trying to jump in the back seat or something. Yeah. Like, damn. Yeah, what the It looked like he was trying to jump in the, but it was, the bullets was in his.
But DeAndre Smith's former roommate told the grand jury it was actually Smith who confessed to shooting Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. The roommate said Smith told him that Orlando Anderson simply couldn't reach across him to take the shot. A rapper in Tupac and Suge's caravan told the grand jury he found Tupac in the passenger seat of the BMW. He said Tupac told him, "Get on the ground, they're going to shoot you." The rapper said Tupac was referring to police who had arrived on the scene. Crime scene photos from that night show the damage. Bullet holes riddled the passenger side of the BMW. Blood spattered on the car seats. .40 caliber shell casings in the vehicle and in the street. One round shattered a windshield. In the days that followed, a number of shootings erupted in Compton, California in retaliation for the shooting of Tupac Shakur. A retired Compton police gang expert told the grand jury it was called the 10-Day War. The expert said Southside Compton Crips and the Mob Piru Bloods basically controlled different parts of Compton and were always fighting. Tupac Shakur died 6 days after he suffered several gunshot wounds.
When Tupac was killed in Las Vegas, that was a different type of magnitude for the rap world.
Soren Baker, author of The History of Gangster Rap, has covered rap for 30 years.
It was shocking because a lot of people knew that there was the altercation at the MGM. A lot of people knew that Tupac had gotten into all these altercations, that he had been involved in shootouts before. And it was just disbelief because we had in particular, high profile death of Scott LaRock back in the 80s from Boogie Down Productions. But that was before rap was so prominent and dominant in the media and on the Billboard charts. This is Tupac. He's at this point in 1996, he's a movie star. He's gone platinum. He's gone multi-platinum. He's got hits with Dr. Dre now. He's working with Snoop Dogg. He's got all this momentum, and he's a box office draw. So this is one of the biggest people in music and an emerging figure in the overall entertainment world that it was just shocking.
After Tupac Shakur died, conspiracy theories spread that he was actually still alive. That prompted prosecutors during the grand jury testimony to ask rapper Idi Amin how he learned that Tupac Shakur had died. Idi Amin said Tupac's mother told everyone. The prosecutor followed up by apologizing, saying he knew his next question might sound silly, but he asked whether Idi Amin had heard from Tupac Shakur since that day. Idi Amin responded, "I have not." There were a lot of conspiracy theories. There were people who believed that Tupac might still be alive. There were people who believed maybe the cops were involved in killing him. I mean, there was all this stuff flying around out there. Why do you think that is?
I think the reason that so many conspiracy theories sprang to life and gained momentum and gained life and traction was that Tupac was a larger than life figure to so many people, and they didn't want to deal with the reality that A, he was dead, and that B, that it could have been something as simple as gang violence. And when you have the streets involved, that adds another layer of frustration because now you're dealing with gangs, you're dealing with black on black crime, and you're dealing with the disappointment of, man, this came from within the community.
The grand jury also heard testimony about the East Coast West Coast feud between rappers, specifically between Suge Knight's Death Row Records and Sean Puffy Combs' Bad Boy Records.
There was a big rivalry between Death Row Records and Bad Boy Entertainment, and a lot of times it's labeled as an East Coast West Coast feud, but in reality it was mainly those two entities, individuals of those two entities had problems with each other, and then I think the media latched on to the idea of this East versus West thing when it was really a group of select individuals that didn't get along.
But there was a connection between Keefe D's Southside Compton Crips and Bad Boy Records. A witness testified that Keefe D and his nephew Orlando Anderson were in charge of the relationship between the Southside Compton Crips and Bad Boy Records, and that Bad Boy Records feared Suge Knight. Death Row was associated with the Bloods. Another Bad Boy Records connection? A witness testified that Eric Zip Martin gave Keefe D the gun the night that Tupac was shot. Zip knew Sean Puffy Combs. Suge Knight's former head of security, Reggie Wright, testified that Suge Knight and Sean Puffy Combs were once on good terms, but things changed in 1995. Wright said Suge Knight believed that Combs was responsible for the death of one of his friends. He then told the grand jury about how Tupac Shakur talked about having sex with the Notorious B.I.G.'s wife in a song and rapped about killing members of Bad Boy Records. Wright said the feud escalated, with a member of Bad Boy Records pointing a gun at Tupac Shakur at an awards show months before that shooting in Las Vegas. Wright said Keefe D was at that awards show with members of Bad Boy Records. That, coupled with the theft of the Death Row chain and then the MGM Grand fight, caused things to come to a head that night in September of 1996 in Las Vegas. Prosecutors say it ended with the murder of Tupac Shakur. Wayne Keefe D. Davis is expected to enter a plea to the murder charges when he appears in court next week. For Law and Crime, I'm Angenette Levy.